We will be exploring 5 symptoms of overthinking. When our mind is in the clouds and we feel so nauseated by our own thinking, the first thing what it shows is in the form of slouching shoulders. Your chest is collapsing inwards and your neck is slanted at a 45-degree angle, your eyes looking down, your body language is really bad, and you look missing something. So we can feel the impact of overthinking on the shoulders mostly. The exact connection between the mind and the stomach has not been scientifically established, but in most of the ancient literature, we'll see that they are highly connected. In many of the ancient scriptures, it is written that the stomach has got its own thinking. How exactly does it work, and where are the neurons in the belly? That is a debatable question, even to think in terms of theory. But many of us intuitively know that the thinking affects our stomach, or stomach itself is the place where thinking occurs. Many times we refer to it as butterflies in my stomach. Now, what I'm proposing here is that it goes beyond that, and either the thinking in the mind or the actual thinking in the stomach area causes some kind of burning sensation in the belly and in the intestine or stomach cells. As a result, the immune system is decreased significantly, and various kinds of viruses, bacteria are attacking those cells. In this way, when we overthink, we are more susceptible to various kinds of attacks by the bacteria and viruses. This causes infections in the stomach. Again, it would be quite preposterous to propose that overthinking causes wounds or tears in the stomach. Instead, as I've just mentioned, I propose that the overthinking reduces the immune system in the stomach, and this attracts the viruses and the bacteria, which causes the infection, and which indeed in turn causes the inflammation, leading to various wears and tears and various stomach diseases like ulcers. Remember that by overthinking, we are not considering stress here, and stress itself causes those immunity problems in the stomach area, but also causes other things. In this particular section, I'm just factoring the effect of overthinking on the stomach area and describing its mechanics. Needless to say, when we overthink, we will either become unnecessarily or excessively thin or fat. This is mainly because we either forget to eat or we forget to stop to eat. Overthinking also has an effect on the skin. It causes various skin problems, even though that cannot be scientifically established at this point. The mechanics is the same as I have proposed for the belly, in which the immunity system is decreased, leading to various bacteria attacking the skin and causing diseases related to the skin itself. Whenever I see somebody with dark patches under his or her eyes, I know that this person either had a sleepless night or has been thinking too much over something that is either totally unnecessary, or that person might have faced some serious problems. Whether the problem that this person was overthinking on was real or fake is very difficult to determine just based on the dark patches under the eyes, but it indicates that there has been overthinking being done. Again, the dark patches are not only caused by overthinking, and there might be other reasons, but overthinking is one of them. The person who thinks a lot doesn't have a charming, beautiful face, because somehow the energy is sucked from the freshness of his face to his brain, or either the brain's energy fire consumes the freshness of that face. The mechanics of why somebody who overthinks loses his or her charm is quite debatable, but we all know that it occurs. Would you prefer to be the partner of somebody who overthinks, or somebody who is able to manage his or her thinking? We all know that people who overthink have got some problems that they are not able to share. And if they share, they tend to be like, so definitely overthinking hampers relationships. So let's explore in what way. When we overthink, we tend to exhibit behaviors that other people did not expect. People will think, where did that behavior come from? In the mind of the overthinker, it might be a logical behavior because it has been going on in his mind as a train of thoughts. But in the eyes of the observer, the sequence is not obvious, and it just appears out of nowhere. As a result, the person who is experiencing that behavior will call it unpredictable. That is definitely not good for relationships. When our mind is in the clouds, we will definitely feel out of touch with reality, and we will be at a loss of confidence. In our mind, everything is better than what we are. Then we feel lesser than the others, and as a result, we tend to think that everybody else is better than us. This leads to lack of confidence. In the process of overthinking, we tend to make such twisted logics that we tend to appear highly irrational to others. The main reason it is irrational is that we are overthinking on our own, and there is no external input to give us a feedback on how offline we are, or whether we are going on a tangent with some thoughts. Most of the time, we do not act on our thoughts, but when we do, they really appear irrational. People even might call us crazy, stupid, but in our minds, we would have thought that it has been the most logical thing to do, because we went through the process so many times in our minds, and that must be the right thing to do. But because the thinking process was confined to us only, usually it ends up to become highly laughable and irrational in the eyes of others. Don't even get me started with the conflict and overthinking. People are at their worst when they overthink on their own, going on a tangent thought. They love to misunderstand anything and everything, and as a result, confront other people based on the false conclusion that they have arrived at. In this way, The quarrels mostly are directly linked to overthinking. Mind you, the overthinker will not consult other people on the factual basis or logicality of the thought that he is harboring. This is the recipe for conflict. Needless to say, overthinking is not the only cause of conflict. Finally, overthinking leads us to a place in our cognition where we are not able to trust people. Trusting requires us to withhold our mistrust and thoughts, but when we overthink, we just cannot. Our mind will go on its own spree of thoughts and illusionary debates on whether to trust or not to trust, and as a result, we become highly untrustworthy to others also because we don't trust others. When we overthink, we are not able to balance the various angles on whether somebody is trustworthy or not. That is the main problem here. That said, I'm not implying that we should trust everybody and we should not think. I'm just saying that we should not trust people just because our brain says so. Not trusting others must be based on facts. Otherwise, the world could not work and we could not even make a step out of our houses. These are the obvious reasons why we need to trust people, but more subtle reasons would not be able to look somebody into the eyes and take some business risks or even hire a contractor if you are unable to trust. But overthinking will hamper our ability to trust. Now, at the last level, what we have to understand is that overthinking is able to attract negative events in our lives. How does it actually occur? That is a debatable question, and there could be many ways to explain it. Some talk about some kind of magnetism. Others might say that it is directly related to relationships and how it affects their decisions and the way they behave back to us, leading to negative events. Some people talk about good vibes and bad vibes, but whichever theory we abide to, there is an effect on the life events that overthinking causes. That said, any kind of emotions and mental practices have an effect on life events, whether we are aware of it or not, or whether we accept it or not. But for now, let's limit ourselves to overthinking and let's look at some of the effects on life events. When you look at somebody who overthinks, and if that person is lined up to be chosen among one of five guilty people, then because of the body language of the face of that person who is overthinking, people tend to identify that person as the guilty one. Of course, here I have to presume that this person is not guilty at all. But because of the face that he or she is making, people assume that he or she is guilty. And this way, that person is facing false accusation. Without sounding like a cliche, I have to tell you that false accusation occurs because of many other reasons, which are behavior based, and it is not limited to overthinking only. However, since it is beyond the scope of this video book, we will not be discussing more on that. And I'll be happy to share with you the various situations where we might get into a situation where we'll be falsely accused and how we can get out of that. That would be in some other books. When we overthink, we think in a very narrow manner that is confined to our own ideologies, frameworks, and settings. We are not able to think into many dimensions that are required. This leads us to make very bad decisions most of the time. Some of them we have discussed, like acting in such a way that people perceive us as unpredictable and irrational. But that could be more than that, like making a wrong business decision. It could be either way, like we invest where we shouldn't be investing, or we don't invest where we should be investing because our mind is consuming us. When we overthink, we are slow at grabbing opportunities, and that's no good in a world of competition that we live in nowadays. I see that in classrooms most evidently. I ask the students whether they know the answer to a certain question. Some of the students raise their hands immediately. The first answers that come are not usually good. And then, after coaxing a lot, everybody will start speaking by raising their hands. The best answers usually come towards the end, but they come after a lot of security building in the students. When I asked them why did you withhold such a good answer, the students replied that they were scared to be judged, and they had been overthinking or on what would happen if people left and all that line of thought. Now, this is occurring in a classroom setting. Imagine the same behavior of overthinking in a business setting where people are vying for a promotion or clients. There will definitely be lots of opportunities missed. When we overthink, there's definitely a chance that we will not be able to see a pothole and trip. These are the physical accidents that come in our lives. It might sound funny, but that usually occurs when we see somebody who is just obsessed by his own mind walking in the streets, bumping into us. We just hope that he doesn't bump into a car that is moving at high speed. Finally, the effect of overthinking can also be that of being betrayed. The betrayal might not even be real, but because the person tends to overthink so much, he will perceive a simple rejection as a betrayal. He will just go on a wild goose chase in his mind and hold a jury in his mind, punishing the plaintiff, the defendant, that he is guilty of betrayal. Again, there might be a basis to say that it was a betrayal, but mostly it is over exaggerated. Nonetheless, to the poor mind of the overthinker, betrayal or not betrayal, it is betrayal. So, in this way, we have covered the various symptoms of overthinking. Now, we will move to the various causes of overthinking.